we're still not going to be able to fulfill the law. So Jesus did it for us. And that's why he is the end of the law, because he's the fulfillment of the law, which is as a means of righteousness for us.
Now they'll say Christ fulfilled the Sabbath, but there's no scripture that says he fulfilled the Sabbath. Give me Acts 3:18. This is the scripture you go to. This is what he fulfilled.
Acts chapter 3 and verse 18. But those things which God before had showed by the mouth of all his prophets, that Christ should suffer.
That Christ should suffer. That's him dying on the cross as a sacrifice.
He hath so fulfilled.
He fulfilled that. That's the only thing he fulfilled. So we know he did not fulfill the law of the Sabbath. He did not fulfill the law of murder. He did not fulfill the law of thou shalt not steal. Christians are stupid.
That really is just word games to say, well, he didn't cancel the law, he fulfilled it. It's like, well, he fulfilled it by canceling it? It's like, what you're just playing with words here. But what Yeshua actually says in the context, he says, don't think that I came to abolish the law. I did not come to abolish the law and the prophets, but to fulfill. And so there's really two ways that fulfill is understood in this context. I mean, two ways that you could understand the concept of fulfilling the law and the prophets. And the one is the fulfillment of the prophetic expectations. Okay, that might work for the prophets, but how would that work for the Torah? So the second one is the fulfillment of the Torah. This turns out to be a phrase that appears frequently in rabbinic literature. When a rabbi says he fulfilled the Torah, or I'm fulfilling the Torah here, it refers to keeping the law and correctly interpreting the law so that it can be properly kept. So if you give a bad interpretation on the Torah, if you give a bad interpretation on the commandments, you fail to fulfill the intention of the law, right? So if you have a mitzvah, a commandment, and you misunderstand it, and you do something totally different than what was commanded, well, you haven't fulfilled that commandment. So this is the actual context. This is rabbinic language. And that's what we have in the Sermon on the Mount, is Yeshua saying, it says in the law of Moses, you shall not murder. But I tell you that if you hate your brother in your heart, that's like murder in the heart. And so what he does is he says, what's the intention of the commandment? And he goes through all these different commandments with the same method. When he says, I've come to fulfill the law, it means I've come to teach you how to properly keep the Torah according to what God intended. And that is the straight and narrow path that's laid out in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7. That's the straight and narrow path that leads to life, that leads to the kingdom of heaven. That he says, seek first the kingdom of heaven. And then, he doesn't tell us how to seek first the kingdom of heaven, because that's what Matthew 5, 6, and 7 is. That's seeking first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness. And all these other things will be added unto as well. And he's fulfilling the law by properly explaining the scriptures to us and God's intention in the scriptures so that we can stay on that straight and narrow.